Kia ora. Today we will provide you with my reflections of the future of work in relation to the introduction of AI technology by answering these 4 questions. What are the biggest challenges organisations will face in the future of work and how should they prepare for them? How do I envision AI transforming workplaces? And what ethical considerations should be prioritised? What skills do I think will be most valuable in the workplace of the future and why? And finally, how do I expect the future of work to impact my personal career aspirations? To answer question 1, I believe the biggest challenge organisations will face in the future of work is not the arrival of AI itself or even the speed at which it's being introduced. The real challenge lies in ethically integrating AI into the workplace, while also managing the very delicate balance between trying to increase productivity and efficiency and making sure we don't lose sight of the inherent value humans bring. Let me explain why I feel so strongly about this. We've already seen what happens when companies chase innovation without thinking through the consequences. Amazon is a well-known example. In an effort to streamline the hiring process and reduce human bias, they introduced an AI hiring algorithm, but instead of reducing this bias, it actually amplified it, automatically filtering out female candidates because it had learned from past data that Amazon favoured male applicants. This wasn't some evil scheme, it was actually just a machine doing what it was trained to do. But unfortunately, it had a real-world impact and it stopped talented and deserving people from being considered for a role. Another example, also from Amazon, is their productivity tracking system they use in warehouses. It uses real-time AI to monitor workers' performances and automatically disciplines employees if their performance drops below a certain threshold. Imagine that. No conversation, no explanation, no room for human nuance or context. This is what happens when productivity is prioritized over people. But it's important to note that this isn't just about Amazon, it's about the broader direction we're all heading in. And it's not inherently bad. AI can be a tool for good when used ethically. It can take over the mundane and repetitive tasks that people often dread and free up time and energy for more creative and collaborative and strategic work. It does have the potential to enhance human work and not just replace it. So how should workplaces prepare for this challenge? First of all, I think organisations need to stop and think deeply about how we can use AI, but also why are we using it and how might it affect our employees. We need to move away from blindly following technology and start being more reflective and intentional in our use. Second, organisations must embed ethics into every stage of technology and adoption. This means testing AI tools for fairness and accuracy, building in checks, and crucially ensuring that humans are always a part of the chain in decision making, especially when those decisions directly impact people's livelihoods. We should be building systems that reflect our values, not just the bottom lines and productivity targets. We need a future of work that aligns with who we are as a society. This brings us directly onto the second question, where I consider how AI is transforming the work environment and what ethical challenges we urgently need to reconsider. AI is being introduced into workplaces at a rapid pace. It's fast, it's efficient, and it's tireless. It doesn't get bored and it doesn't make typos. In many ways, it is a very powerful tool that can make our work lives easier. But here's the catch. It is not neutral and it doesn't understand context. The ethical issues, as we've learned in the first question, are serious and far-reaching. One of the most obvious is bias. AI is trained on data, and if that data includes historical inequalities like racial, gender-based, ableist, or classist, then AI will learn and replicate those inequalities in future outputs. We saw this clearly with Amazon's hiring algorithm. Bias wasn't just present, it was embedded into the system. Then there's transparency. Often people don't even know that AI is being used in a decision-making process. They don't know how a decision was made or whether they can challenge it. This lack of transparency makes it really hard to build trust. This leads us on to the idea of accountability. When something goes wrong, or when someone's application is unfairly rejected, or when someone loses their job due to a technical error, who's responsible? Is it the company, the developers, or the algorithm itself? These are complex questions that we haven't fully figured out yet, but perhaps the most overlooked ethical concern is well-being. When AI is used to monitor employees, constantly track their output, and flag moments of unproductive behavior, it turns the workplace into a surveillance zone. And this doesn't motivate people. It exhausts them and ultimately provides a negative work environment. Now, on the positive side, I want to stress that AI can offer an opportunity to create space for meaningful work. And that's important because people don't just go to work for a paycheck. We all go to work because we want to feel useful, we want to contribute, and ultimately we want to feel proud of what we do. If AI can take over the parts of work that are dull and repetitive, like sifting through hundreds of emails, then humans can focus on stuff that actually feels meaningful, like collaborating with others and creating. That's why it's so important that we don't just use AI to cut costs, but instead use it to enhance the human experience of work. Let AI be a support tool, not a control mechanism. Let it create more space for creativity and empathy. To do this, we need ethical frameworks that guide how AI is introduced. We need regulation, and we also need developers, managers, and policymakers to all work together. But most importantly, we need to listen to the workers themselves. Now moving on to the third question. What human skills are going to remain essential in the workforce of the future and why? This is a particularly important question because it speaks to not just the survival of employees in a changing work market, but to the deeper question of what it actually means to be a human in the workplace. And honestly, it's one of the few areas in this conversation that genuinely excites me. As we continue integrating AI into our everyday work life, it's becoming clearer and clearer that the skills machines can't replicate are not just useful but critical. And in many ways, the rise of AI is actually putting a spotlight on the kinds of capabilities we've always had but maybe just not valued enough. Let me break down the core skills that I believe and I've identified from our guest lecturers in readings to be the most valuable. First and foremost is adaptability. The ability to not just react to change but grow from it, as we saw in several lectures, especially in the ones focusing on digital disruption and the ethical future of work, is that change is no longer an event. It's constantly happening all around us. We're going to be working alongside these systems and they will be evolving faster than we can predict. That means the most successful workers will not be the ones who know the most facts, but the ones who are most comfortable with learning things on the fly. This is a skill that does need active support though. It can't be expected. Organizations have to create cultures where it's okay to not know everything. Another absolutely vital skill is emotional intelligence. AI can simulate friendliness. It can auto-respond and write an empathetic sounding email, but it doesn't actually feel and it can't build trust within a team. It also can't sense when someone in your team is struggling or navigate really complex interpersonal relationships we have as humans. As Dr. Ruth emphasized, relationships and care are at the heart of any healthy workplace. That doesn't go away just because we bring in more automation. In fact, it becomes more important. When tasks are more automated, the human relationships around that work are actually what gives our work meaning and depth. People who can listen, understand emotions, and give feedback are people who will thrive. They are also the people who will keep organizations afloat when technology fails or if a crisis hits. Third, and maybe most excitingly, is creativity. AI is impressive. It can remix ideas and generate content, but what it can't do is imagine something new. It doesn't dream and it doesn't question its own thinking. It doesn't connect deeply personal or emotional experiences with ideas to create something that is ultimately original. We need to make space for this in our workplace. That means giving people time to think, time to reflect, and time to create. Creative thinking isn't just coming from constant busyness. It comes from breathing room and trust that a workplace can provide. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, is in an AI-driven world, we need people who have strong ethical judgment. Machines are not moral agents. They don't have a conscience. They can't process rules, and they can process rules, but they can't weigh competing values in our complex social settings. In the future of work, decisions will be increasingly influenced by AI, but the responsibility of any of those decisions will still fall on humans. We need people who can make sense of difficult situations, who can hold the balance between efficiency and fairness, who can understand that not everything can or should be optimized. finally, that brings me to my final question. How do I expect the future of work to impact my personal career aspirations? So I'll be honest, this course has changed the way I think about my own future and the kind of career I want. When I first came into this course, I had quite a negative view of AI. It felt threatening and it felt like something that was waiting to take over our jobs. I kind of saw AI as the enemy, and to be honest, it scared me. But as we've moved through the course, and especially as I've had the chance to engage with our readings and the guest lectures and reflect upon my own values, something has definitely shifted. I no longer see AI as something to fear. In fact, I now see it as something to work with. I've come to understand that AI isn't actually going to replace me. It's going to redefine how I work. And if we do it right, it might actually help make work more fulfilling, not less. I now genuinely feel hopeful that in my career, AI can support me, not take away things from me. One of my biggest changes in my thinking has been realizing that AI can take care of the stuff that drains me, like endless admin and mundane tasks, and leave more time and space for the kind of work that actually feels meaningful, like collaborating, creating, or solving complex problems with others. I find this all very exciting. Another massive perspective shift I've had is about what humans bring to the table and how irreplaceable that really is. Before this course, I think I did understand that emotional intelligence and creativity were important, but I didn't fully understand how critical they would be in a future where machines are doing most of our routine tasks. Now I feel confident in the fact that AI will never replace me completely. I bring skills and ways of thinking that no machine can ever fully replicate. My skills include empathy, reflective thinking, emotional awareness, and ethical judgment, and all of those things are very powerful in a workplace. As AI evolves, so will I. That's now the mindset I'm taking forward. Another thing that comes into focus is the kind of life I want to live and how AI can actually support that. I've always loved the idea of being able to travel and experience the world, and the flexibility that AI and digital tools offers means that remote or hybrid work is becoming more and more possible. That kind of flexibility really matters to me, not in terms of location, but in terms of my work-life balance. This will help me stay connected to the people I love and explore different places. And that is genuinely something I look forward to. So what does this mean in terms of what I'm going to do now and how I'm preparing for it? Well, one thing I've definitely realized is that I need to stay engaged with technology, because even if I'm not in a purely tech-based role, that means learning how to use AI tools. Because as we've so often heard, AI won't take our jobs. People who know how to use AI will. I don't want to be left behind, especially in a job market that is constantly becoming more competitive. So I plan to keep learning, whether it's through online courses or experimenting with different AI platforms. But just as importantly, I want to keep building my people skills. That includes my interpersonal communication and my cross-cultural understanding. I want to work on how I connect with people, how I lead, and how I handle feedback. These are things I'll never finish learning, but I know that they are what will set me apart. I plan to seek out opportunities that challenge me, whether it's working with diverse teams, volunteering, or anything that helps grow my capacity to relate to others. So here's my action plan. First, I'm going to invest time in developing both my hard skills, like staying up to date with AI and digital tools, and my soft skills, like emotional intelligence, empathy, and ethical decision making. Second, I want to look for opportunities, whether it's in internships or extracurriculars, that expose me to different people and different experiences. I believe the more perspectives I engage with, the better I'll be able to adapt and connect, and honestly, the more of an empathetic human I will be. And finally, I want to be asking myself constantly, not just what do I want to do, but what kind of person do I want to be in the workplace? Because I think this course has not only highlighted the role that AI will play in the future, but also the role that I will play in my future in the workplace. The future of work isn't just about jobs. It's about how we shape those things ethically, creatively, and humanely. And I'm excited to be part of that future.